Welcome everyone. It is Nero here at Dappcentre, the channel where you can find the best crypto projects and the best dApps where you can earn a passive income and learn about all the other things you can do with your precious little cryptocurrencies. Be sure to subscribe and give us a thumbs up. Now let's get to it, shall we? All right, guys. I am here with Ken. He is the CEO and founder of Dappcentre Inc., which is producing a product called Yeetcoin, which is going to be getting launched here on June 30th, 2021. Hey, Ken, how are you? Thank you for joining our channel. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm having a very good day. I appreciate you having me here, most definitely. And you're doing well today as well.
Yes, doing very well indeed. Thank
Awesome.
you. So please, Ken, go ahead and tell me a little bit about yourself and how did you get yourself involved in blockchain technology?
Yeah, so was involved in run businesses, manage employees on a retail sector, a wholesale sector, and a manufacturing level, as well as an industry grade level. As an entrepreneur and investing into stocks and exploring different stock options, and doing also what I've been involved into a lot of technical work throughout my life in the computers, machine learning, machine operation that has to do with computer technology, and as well as the aspect of a lot of things within graphic design, video design, 3D design, and functionality within the gaming sector. After being involved in stocks for some time, I came about cryptocurrency. So my attention to cryptocurrency was not so much the value. I mean, the value at the time was a big discussion, mainly, it seemed like. But what struck my attention was the programming abilities of the Ethereum blockchain. What can be built upon the Ethereum blockchain, what functions on the Ethereum blockchain. Starting out from my knowledge was the CryptoKitties and the algorithm of CryptoKitties and the collectibles of CryptoKitties, and the utility of it within other DApp games such as Axes Infinities on the Ethereum blockchain and 0x Universe. So those sort of backed by code programs and dApps grasped my attention to develop within Ethereum. And from Ethereum, I moved over into the launch of the TRON blockchain within a small group of community of like developers. We were testing nodes together and chain for its launch. Once the nodes were running securely, we basically moved forward into candidacy of the network for the mainnet launch out of our testnet node runnings as candidates of the TRON blockchain, replacing the Genesis nodes. So obviously most of us have essentially been replaced by central companies, kind of central entities that are producing the TRON blockchain nodes at this point and staking it for people who are still receiving voter rewards in the TRON blockchain by freezing the TRON and receiving block rewards, whoever they vote in as SRCs who secure the TRON blockchain mainnet nodes to fetch the blocks, new blocks coming in on all transactions. When I send you TRON, you send me TRON, it's minted on that block. So all those SRCs are kind of running that blockchain now. So I've moved over with that into more developing in the TRON blockchain products and services that are functional within the TRON blockchain, and as well as move part of the company that I'm operating over into Ethereum blockchain somewhat, and as well explored now the Binance Smart Chain.
Yes, Binance Smart Chain, very exciting stuff. So can you go ahead and briefly describe to me what Yeetcoin is and how is it related to Dappcentre Inc.?
Yes, the Yeetcoin is a BEP20 on the Binance Smart Chain, and it is a Solidity smart contract as well as is operated by the company Dappcentre Incorporated. So the company is the operational entity that operates the contract, is the contract owner. And so most projects that are somehow saying to renounce contracts, this company does not renounce the contract and operational means of the actual project itself for and upgrading and scaling our contract. Certain contracts in the Binance Smart Chain that are BEP20s that are reflective tokens and yield farm tokens have a standard of pointing to a certain router on the DEX that it's trading on. So for example, PancakeSwap router is programmed on its highest upgrade to a version or a V2 and so forth into a V3, V4. Most BEP20s are kind of stuck at like SafeMoon is kind of stuck at a V1 router. And most BEP20s that maybe fork from there or from other alike tokens maybe are stuck on an older version of a router of a DEX platform where their liquidity pool is standard on. So our contract actually integrated in the ability to scale to new contract routers for like version 3, version 4, so forth long term for a DEX like PancakeSwap or like DEXs that are operating, and for tradability of Yeetcoin upon them via the LP that's formulated on them and held there against BNB. Company only has certain holdings only for operational means as well. It has no reason to sell against them, so it doesn't have operational means of holding Yeetcoin to sell it all, as well as there's no like a market allocation or a developer allocation percentages like that.
Well, I know you probably already touched on some of these, but what are some of the great features regarding Yeetcoin, and why would anyone want to invest in the project?
Yeah, essentially, as I was stating just prior, some of the functionalities of the actual contract itself, it has ability to be renounced, which it won't be renounced in this case via the operational company. Other aspects are it has a 5% liquidity fee and a 5% tax. So when someone is looking to sell the Yeetcoin, there's a 5% tax that allocates from the Yeetcoin itself, and it essentially will reallocate out into the liquidity pool itself. And then the other 5% is inherently like burned and thrown away. It's part of that is it's burning the supply in total, but the other 5% tax reallocates to other Yeetcoin holders in that regards.
Wow. So correct me if I'm wrong here, but you're starting with a quadrillion supply and it's going to deflate to 21 million, correct?
That's the name of the game, yeah, for the holders, long-term and a community standard. So part of Yeetcoin is meant to be connected to a memes culture, a subculture of the meme industry, as well as the art behind it. And within the Yeetcoin mascot, it's meant to be a distributed like ledger of community base of people who are in a certain culture, was where I found the term Yeet as a terminology. And so the supply ratio is like another aspect of that connectiveness of community. People are holding them throughout the years, or utilizing this in its different ways throughout the years. And, for me, the latter difference of how blockchain will grow in the next 5 to 10 years is where I would really catch the difference, the true difference, looking back on Yeetcoin. So when I look back on that in that regards, the supply burning is one that's meant to deflate the token itself. So it's a bit of a holder's game long term of people speculate that are mining Bitcoin in this macro industry, for example, and the connectiveness of Yeetcoin in that regards is that Bitcoin has a maximum supply of 21 million. Now, that macro industry is connected to chip manufacturers, parts and production for chip manufacturing, the ASIC mining machines from Antminer and a lot of other production companies that are creating these ASIC miners for Bitcoin, improving upon those standards, down to even the microeconomic level of that own machine itself to the steel industry. And then the steel industry has its own macroeconomical level. So everything's compiled together. It's like mining Bitcoin. Now, Yeetcoin in regards has its own utilities and products as the end service of how it's functioning. And that total supply is burning and deflating. So a lot of time we see in the currencies of a lot of talk of inflation of the dollar bill, inflation of goods and services based on the inflation of the dollar bill that maybe could cause the dollar bill to be able to obtain less and less in the industry. In this regards, it's almost like the Bitcoin economy and, for example, the Yeetcoin economy is enabling that deflationary. Bitcoin's kind of inflating it to its maximum supply, but it's also expanding its utility. And I can touch upon that briefly. But in Yeetcoin's regards of its economy, it's deflating that entire supply to enable that it's not inflating in a regards that it can obtain less and less, but as example that as less and less is available on the marketplace over time of Yeetcoin long term, it'll enable that Yeetcoin will inherently be able to obtain more on a retail level. Or for example, when retail inflates with the dollar bill, or the dollar bill obtains less in the retail standard. Sorry, not inflate. The dollar bill won't inflate, but the retail industry will inflate. So if I'm going to, for example, purchase a product from a website, a product or service from a website, an e-commerce, well, eventually, years from now, my dollar bill will be able to obtain less of a product based on the value of the product going up. Like, for example, graphic cards, the RTX graphic cards that mine Ethereum for this current time before Ethereum scales into a delegated proof of stake where it's no longer mineable, but it's stakeable. For now, people are purchasing up all these graphic cards. So in 5 years from now, these graphic cards will be a lot more expensive. Now they're around $3,000 for one graphic card, for example. In the future, it'll be like $6,000. My dollar is going to it's going to take more dollars in the future to obtain that graphic card. So in this regards, for Yeetcoin on an economic level, to be able to purchase a graphic card in the future, for example, integration of the Yeetcoin into a platform called matrixgamingit.com, which is for esports gaming industry, tournament creations and team creations and management on an esports level for competitive gaming. But that ecosystem also has retail ability for obtaining goods and services like gaming products, walkthrough guides for Minecraft and different capacities for different types of parts of Minecraft, for that example, where you can purchase that walkthrough guide with Yeetcoin. So in regards of deflating the total supply, it'll allow that it can keep up with a market level of not becoming less and less, but in regards of being able to obtain more over time as on a value level. When we talk about the Yeetcoin in regards of its par value, going into a market trading against Binance Coin, for example, will allow that its product level on a goods and services can obtain more of a product than less on deflating total supply. So it'll help the value retention of the Yeetcoin long term. And with certain people, they like to talk about speculative growth, and Bitcoin, it would be like to speculative growth in Yeetcoin. Gotcha. But on a corporate level, the management of par value and the management of buybacks is further burning those Yeetcoin down. For example, when someone uses Yeetcoin for a retail product level of purchasing a retail product from gaming walkthrough guides or whatever tournament creations on a premium level that are marketable into certain ecosystems, and on a commerce level, whoever else wants to use it, integrate it into their e-commerce globally, that's fine. They can integrate it through these different developer backend plugins and whatnot that Yeetcoin will be functional through. Moving forward into 2020, basically before the end of this year in 2021 and 2022, it'll be available on a retail level for goods and services and gaming. And at that beginning, that will allow the further revenues from that aspect back into the company on that product level, because it operates that ecosystem, to burn all of that Yeetcoin down as well. So that's taking Yeetcoin out of the circulation in a deflationary sense, gotcha, down to that long-term 21 million.
Right. So you're talking about long-term. How long do you think it would take for it to go down to 21 million? If you're to, like, is it built into the algorithm of the code, or is it based off of just strictly transactions?
It's both. Both trading will burn it down on a deflationary sense automatically via the BEP20 Solidity smart contract, but also through manual means of burning into a burn address as well.
Okay. So what would you say, how long would it take to get down to 21 million?
I'd like to see most of it locked away into a burn address, a Binance Smart Chain burn address, where it's on a table back out of there. And for example, I always say in regards of when people research into a project, some of these projects have tried who were like these exit scam rug dump projects, taking and putting in snippets of code where they can remint out of the token. So they can like burn like this big supply to a burn address on the Binance Smart Chain, and then say, hey, look, we burned this large supply. But they have a mint function in their contract to mint back out, where they dump against the market LP liquidity pool, harming people and their funds on the network. So in this regards, I always say it's a due diligence for people to really look into that code snippet if they can mint in there. There's no reason for a contract to be a mint in there on read you can read the contract on the BSC scan. So for Yeetcoin, there's no ability for that. So I'd like to see most burning performed after the initial closure of offering for people to participate and obtain Yeetcoin and early offering before the liquidity pool starts. So in that regards, whatever's not obtained will be completely burned to a burn address on the Binance Smart Chain. So if that's like 3/4 of the supply, if that's 99% of the supply, if there's only 1% left, that's what it'll be into the Binance Smart Chain burn address. And it'll be the same burn address as where SafeMoon burned to.
Okay. So I was looking through your white paper and something really caught my eye was the roadmap. So kind of provide us, what are some progress have you guys made with the roadmap so far? And what results have you been able to achieve so far? And have you had any setback?
Well, in regards of expense on working with some people who in like business levels that maybe don't pan out in some regards, there's been some struggles in that regards, but all in all, it's been a very smooth situation. Obviously, our main focus is currently into researching code sets for PancakeSwap, Uniswap, V2, V3 scaling versions like that to enable a fork over into what we'll be utilizing for YeetSwap. So we're just researching right now and prepping servers right now and having a variety of meetings. From there, we'll implement basically what can we scale and integrate into a DEX platform that's utility wise for Yeetcoin. So basically in regards of how can we expand utility of Yeetcoin, we'll provide a service provision of pairing on LPs through a YeetSwap DEX that also will allow for vetted projects to launch through. And these vetted projects can utilize Yeetcoin for launching a project and for marketing a project on a secure IDO platform. So basically a vetted project that we launch will be researched into rather than a platform that just auto launches contracts all day long into sales and then are claimable on an LP on a DEX. So in this regard, it's kind of like a vetted project. There's a vetted coordination via that a YeetSwap DEX can actually succeed in liquidity and by having secure projects that are trading upon that as well. And so there's revenues passively will go into examples of just Yeetcoin buybacks and burns, and also will revenue Yeetcoin back in. So exploring utility of how we can scale and allow utility of Yeetcoin upon YeetSwap DEX in one regards right now for outlining of how the actual code set and the interfaces and user experience, UX, UIs will be functional. And those revenues will also be burned as well. The BEP8 reasoning is basically just a bridge to the mainnet ability. So a closer range of utilizing Yeetcoin. And in the regards of the BEP8 Solidity Smart Contract structure, we're still kind of formulating and really brainstorming like what is the competent features and Solidity functions that contract needs to serve as a bridge from a BEP20 to a BEP8 Yeetcoin, and how will that also be a deflationary measure on an auto level, and what can we integrate as like a BEP20 type of yield continuation, but also a deflationary measure of a BEP8 on the mainnet. And in that further regards of our roadmap scaling, moving into at the competent time and the right time, a YUSD BEP2 that will also be a Binance mainnet aspect as a BEP2 smart contract that'll be a basket of Binance, the BNB mainnet mainnet Binance coin, and a basket of Yeetcoin that would be utilized as that's the only reasoning of the incorporated company be holding Yeetcoin as far as scaling on a roadmap of a YUSD stable Yeet, which will be a float into stable Yeet. So the company in regards doesn't, again, like I said earlier in our meeting, doesn't have holdings for utilizing on marketing or utilizing on developer means that they sell against the liquidity pool market or any exchange market for that matter. That's the only sense of why the company has a float holdings, which is secured into a Binance Gnosis multi-sig vault that's encrypted through multi-signatures. That takes a multi-signature means that multiple of our wallet addresses and cryptocurrency holdings have to sign these contracts to enable releases of any of these float backings to a stable Yeet. And the stable Yeet is only, for example, to perform like a buyback of a stable Yeet with Binance coin or BUSD or Yeetcoin based on the measures of how much is minted out, based on how much is backed into the basket of holdings behind stable Yeet, YUSD, as a $1 pegged stable coin. So that'll be so that's kind of, so stable Yeet should be before then on the roadmap is what, on a strategic planning level.
Awesome. That's exciting stuff. Lot to look forward to. What is Yeetcoin project's plan for attracting and expanding communities and increasing the trading experience for your investors?
In the regards of liquidity expanse of utility and the ability to obtain for use of it, is basically central exchange listings paired to Bitcoin is a big one for us. And I did want to base the aspect that maybe eventually, and I'll touch upon the main point of this, but in regards of pairing to Bitcoin, the reasoning of a liquidity with Bitcoin is because Bitcoin's being produced and mined into a 21 million supply, and we're burning and deflating into a 21 million supply of only availability of circulation. And again, like I'd like to really see most of that burned at the beginning moving forward, because the aspect of moving into an LP, the LP should only be valued at what's actually available. So the unavailability of it will automatically, most of it in a historic sense of Yeetcoin will be burned at the beginning. And I can only tell the latter difference of that after that event, which will be ceremoniously happening soon. But having a liquidity pairing to Yeetcoin to Bitcoin, in a sense, is Bitcoin network is very interesting to me for the utility of it. And I think that the main net, once the difficulty keeps rising, is a de-incentive unless the technology the technology will keep rising to keep up with machine power and even machine learning for mining Bitcoin. So mineability of Bitcoin reaching its 21 million supply, many speculate the value of Bitcoin will be increasingly higher. So the pairing of Yeetcoin to Bitcoin will allow access of that marketplace together. But in the other regards of people have asked, I've heard the question asked of, well, what about cross-chaining of Yeetcoin? That's like possible. So, but I don't see for what reason it would need to really create an LP on Uniswap. I think a token contract should be most immutable between like one chain as a core focus in its utilities and value of utility. And so I don't see an ability to really use to cross-chain into Ethereum at all for any reason of Yeetcoin, but I do see on a utility level of expanse of like a liquidity sense of usage of Yeetcoin, the ability that possibly Bitcoin scaling into its liquid network and Lightning network implementations that also has the ability of the beginning of what we're seeing as simple kind of NFTs contracts on a Bitcoin liquid network. So where you can move Bitcoin via like different already wallets out there that can hold Bitcoin, and you can move your Bitcoin into Bitcoin liquid network, and then use or Lightning network as well. And you can use the Bitcoin Lightning amounts of Bitcoin as a kind of like a side chain, a cross chain of Bitcoin with faster scalability, and also the use of smart contracts, or what we're seeing as NFT contracts that are in the Bitcoin liquid network and with utility of Bitcoin Lightning network type of Bitcoin. So you see a wrapped Ethereum, for example, which is functional in the Binance smart chain. You have the ability of, for example, maybe eventually and further down the line, a wrapped Yeetcoin over in a Bitcoin liquid network as a smart contract, possibly as a speculative thing of if it fruitions that contracts can be deployed upon a Lightning or a liquid network of Bitcoin at a certain provision of a developer sense of who's provided deploying contracts upon such a network, because they're already having the ability to launch gaming products that are items, for example, a game Light Night that I'm working within on a testing level and playing level, and have these certain skins on there and giving feedbacks on that early adoption of this game that's liquid NFTs on the Bitcoin liquid network. So I can have my real Bitcoin, I can move it to my Bitcoin Lightning network wallet, I can swap it into my main Bitcoin into Bitcoin Lightning network, and I can utilize it to obtain liquid network NFTs that are actually like a pair of glasses or a certain outfit. You see the skins in in Fortnite and different games. People are purchasing these skins that are available in these games. Well, these are skins that are actual smart contract NFTs, non-fungible tokens that are attached to your character while you're playing the game. But you can also have a network marketplace like Steam has. I can purchase certain gaming skins on Steam that are downloadable and savable to my character on my games that I own on Steam network for battle royale games and whatnot. And that marketplace is one I can sell my character skins and items on Steam network. So I can also do that in the Bitcoin Liquid network. So if there was a cross-chain compatibility of a sense of a person who wants to have and hold Yeetcoin as a speculative, like long-term holding, my thought would be a cross-chain into a wrapped like Yeetcoin that's possible on a Bitcoin Liquid network. Granted that long-term, there's the ability to launch smart contracts that are tokenized, just like the NFTs are currently upon the Bitcoin Liquid network and Lightning network. We've had meetings with multiple exchanges for liquidity providers that will basically place a liquidity provision of Bitcoin there for easy access of people to move Yeetcoin from against Bitcoin or Bitcoin against Yeetcoin back and forth on a liquidity provision level. And that's the only competent level I see that Yeetcoin needs to be managed at on a central exchange level. For example, on the corporate end, in communications with central exchange for listings of Yeetcoin with Bitcoin pairing, then liquidity provisions are an extra service provision from a central exchange at a competent level to allow and manage Yeetcoin on a liquid level.
Wow. Okay. So can you tell us what centralized exchanges do you plan for Yeetcoin to get listed on?
It's, that's a very speculative thing and a very expensive thing, and it's a community level thing. So in the regards of, again, like our corporate level operations of Yeetcoin is on basically a level that ensures that everything is operating smoothly on a server level mainly, and what's going on with the transactional level and what's going on with backend upgrades and scalings and codes and repositories and commits and communications. That the central exchange listing is like not so important on the corporate level of operation, on a community level, because the corporate level of operation is one that in its revenues can decide on its own if it's at a level of basically providing that sort of funding into pairing on certain central exchanges. So the meetings we've had so far are just the run of the basket, really, central exchanges. I think on a more like larger level, long term, it would have to show the project would have to show competency, I feel, to like to Binance on a corporate level, corporate to corporate level. And again, it's a listing fee provision for certain, and there's also provisions like I said before about extra liquidity provision levels to secure in like a monthly extra expenses into providing liquidity provisions for Yeetcoin to Bitcoin on a long-term level. But the project really, in that sense, really needs to be fully built out for example of communications on a competent level, and also again with a fee level for example, listing long-term over the years onto like a Binance main chain, onto a Binance DEX, which is on like a BEP8 level, for example, and a Binance Central Exchange pairing to Bitcoin, for example, at some point in a future, would be a thought on my mind of which exchange. In other regards, you see coin. I mean, who knows? Because again, like this project is meant to be a community level, and it's also meant to be a retail level of utility of Yeetcoin in the gaming industry, and a core focus for products and services, and also that sort of industry long term. So the central exchange aspect of maybe like Coinbase, you see like making more and more tokens available. I would think maybe in a 5-year roadmap would be a place to explore communications with them if they feel that there's a listing level of Yeetcoin on there after years of operation. I believe on a certain level, that doesn't have to say like 5 years, but those communication levels are what's in an operational level of the corporate on DEX Exchange Incorporated's end of communications for which sort of central exchanges it would make sense to be listed on a utility level. For example, like there's Coinbase Commerce, which allows for commerce level and retail and like retail level for goods and products. For example, like DEX Exchange Incorporated operates as well in product provisions on a retail and commerce level. Coinbase, for example, allows that connectiveness for retailers such as a company operating retail stores. They allow that acceptance of cryptocurrency in that industry. And also USDC, which is their stable coin from the Ethereum network, as payment for goods and services. That's pegged at the $1. So for example, it would be speculative on the communications level and a competent right point of time to, as a place like an entity like Coinbase expands its acceptance of different tokens like other service providers are. So they have to keep up with that competitive market of what's available on their platform, like other plugins in commerce for example, Yeetcoin is going to be integrating into multiple plugins on commerce to be available on the retail end. So it would be only like make sense on a competent long-term level for a place and a platform like Coinbase to be implementing the same sort of aspects. So at a right point in time, if they have this like year-to-year growth like that in the Coinbase level, and they, example, have a certain ability for feeling that Yeetcoin can be available through commerce level on their plugins and services, then Yeetcoin would be a good aspect for that platform as well.
Okay, so let's talk about auditing. As we seen that a lot of smart contracts out there are vulnerable to hacks and to carry out, obviously carrying out audits do cost a lot of money. So is there any plans of there being an audit? Has it been audited yet?
Yeah, our in-house developer team are all Solidity developers, along with one of our team members, whom is in work. Well, he's in education, basically, but it's like a bounty worker within the company who also was working in an auditing service provider. So he works within our in-house auditing on auditing Solidity smart contracts before anything's rolled out, and it's all tested via test nets very thoroughly. Through any sort of issues going on in the contracts and any sort, for example, like past products like sort of Block Nation XYZ over on the Clayton blockchain, the seed to sale tracking softwares for the legal and licensed cannabis marketplace, and the TRON blockchain with crypto cannabis ledgering. These are all certain product aspect provisions that were tested heavily and thoroughly in test nets before we ever deployed anything on main nets. And in those experiences and through our even like clients that we've provided services for and looking into contracts and implementing and helping with contracts has all been in-house. So through testnet testing of our smart contracts or finding and working out any possible vulnerabilities prior to any mainnet launchings, it has to be a competent area of Solidity in coding and programming. So along with basically Yeetcoin BEP20 at an eventual point, sooner or later, will show further project transparency through having multiple audits through third-party provisions. So the company will go ahead and is already in communications with a couple, and we're exploring which ones to basically go with for auditing services. We're going to do 2 audits basically on the contract and their outcomes. But again, competent-wise, our in-house testing and our basically on an industry level, our backing and our vetting of our team and all the contracts that we've looked into in-house, we feel safe having deployed a Yeetcoin onto the mainnet based upon what we found in our own in-house auditing of the contract itself.
Gotcha.
But again, like I said, the two service providers that are third-party providers that DEX Exchange Incorporated will hire for the contract auditing, we'll have two auditing to basically pair up and and basically coincide with each other for the auditing for a further transparency of Yeetcoin BEP20. And that'll also carry over into any of our products, services, and provisions for all of our contracts for JUSTSWAP contract. If there's contract code that's running behind initial DEX offering Yeet with the IDO Yeet platform, that'll integrate into JUSTSWAP DEX. If there's any contract upon that we find functional and integrational, it doesn't seem so at this point for launching, other than maybe for the provision of multi-sig vaults contracts, but those are already audited through the service provider that we're already running with for multi-sig vault creations contracts. They've already had their own code completed and looked at, also in-house and through their own provisions if they've had auditing service if they felt that was a need. But yeah, like I said, for fuller transparency on contracts that are running in the background, definitely we'll have certificate audits on there at an eventual rate, certainly.
That's awesome. That's some good news. So what strategies does Dappsexchange have to add value to Yeetcoin, and what do you predict the price to be 1 year from now?
Yeah, so the strategies and the value of Yeetcoin, basically our core focus is on, again, like the end products. It's not so much in my mind to try and just want to sell Yeetcoin all day long, or just, that doesn't make sense even really at all to me, to just sell Yeetcoin. But actually my core focus is for the utility of Yeetcoin. So whoever feels, because the company is not really, the company is giving the initial provision of a liquidity pool from the entrances of those obtaining Yeetcoin for the beginning of its utility, basically on a yield farming aspect for basically like people who utilize it's its own little ecosystem of currency and rewards of its utility that's programmed, and that's the interest of me, as early on in our communications, the interest of why I was attentive over into the Ethereum blockchain, for just the cool aspect of operational measures of what auto code runnings can do on a virtual level, for utility of for this example, connecting in Yeetcoin to its own system. So for example, like the Lolly app has rewards that people are using and shopping through their partners, like on Microsoft, Staples for office supplies, Microsoft Xbox for games and gear, and web host providers, Nike, all sorts of things on the Lolly app, and people are purchasing through those and they're earning Bitcoin rewards. So it's its own ecosystem of utility of Bitcoin further in that regards. And so Bitcoin has its own reward system, its own utility of developers who are building on the Bitcoin network and providing these platforms like Lolly does, for people being rewarded in Bitcoin for shopping on the commerce level of major brands for what they're looking for. In regards of the relation of Yeetcoin, the utility of Yeetcoin is the core focus. So on a rewards level, people who are participating in the ecosystem are rewarded for a yield on what's called a yield farm or reflective token holdings. So people who are utilitying out, like they're buying something with Yeetcoin, and that Yeetcoin's burned, well, it's kind of blocking that value. But people who are saying, well, okay, like I had this much Bitcoin, I'm spending Bitcoin on this. I have this much Yeetcoin, I'm spending Yeetcoin on this. Or I don't need this much Yeetcoin, and I'll grab some BNB back, and they'll obtain BNB out of the LP on PancakeSwap. And that gives that entrance and fee spread across other holders of Yeetcoin. And then the other amounts is put back into the LP in the form of, and then the BNB, and that other Yeetcoin is brought back in and burned. So the utility level is the core focus there on the beginning entrance of Yeetcoin. The other aspect is the JUSTSWAP DEX is another core focus. And then providing, once the DEX has a provision of further staking of Yeetcoin, so people freezing their Yeetcoin to earn more Yeetcoin via JUSTSWAP DEX, and also pairing a liquidity provision of people who want to form what they're showing, like a competent, for example, DAP dollars, BEP20, with a pairing with Yeetcoin and some sort of liquidity sense of an LP. Those sort of aspects are just kind of like really available and easy on these DEX swap platforms. And that's what JUSTSWAP will provision as well. And with further integration, the liquidity provisions of Yeetcoin coming in on the aspect of kind of a revenue standpoint is burning all that Yeetcoin down, deflating that supply as well. Any Yeetcoin revenues that come back into the DEX Exchange Incorporated company as a revenue sense, they burn it all. They don't sell it back off into the market at all or anything like that. And also with a further IDO, initial DEX offering. So for example, a business entity, a corporate entity, or a platform entity on a social sense that has a currency system in place for its own network and its community and how its utility and how everything's functioning together, can launch their whole project on there in the sense of initial DEX offering and into a IDO Yeet, and they can use Yeetcoin as the launch offering, and they can have it like bumped up on top of the IDO Yeet page of what projects are running at that time that people can explore and make their own formulated decision if that's something they want to participate in. And the project itself can use Yeetcoin to pay for their launch. So if they have Yeetcoin and they find it's a better entrance of ability of paying for their project launch, kind of like any other project launch, like DX sale or any other platform, is cost this like minimal amount of like a BNB, but also like token fee for their launch. We don't want any token fee, but the core utility of Yeetcoin is meant to have that revenue sense there that burns Yeetcoin down as well. On the other regards of Yeet slots is a proverbially fair roll game. And I've looked into those contracts over the years via the TRON blockchain and Ethereum blockchain. And these proverbially fair contracts that obviously can be adjusted by certain people who make these contracts, and everyone's like losing all their TRX all the time, and they wonder why it never pans out for them. And some of them, there's also really good platforms like the Wink platform, and they're also making the Blink platform over. Wink is going from the Tron blockchain over into Blink, over in the Binance Smart Chain.
Oh yeah,
because those proverbially fair games. So I have just the Yeet slots where people, proverbially fair could jackpot on some Yeetcoin or something like that in a proverbially fair sense via operational control, and people in that whatever is kind of brought in the sense of in a proverbially fair win or lose sense, all those Yeetcoin brought into escrow of the company's operational escrow wallet vaults will be burned as well.
Yeet or be yeeted.
That's the terminology that's been that was found and is utilized within the community sense. Yeah, so it's not in a sense of like again, it's been the certain setbacks that we've explored so far early on that we discussed about. The only other thing I've seen is basically like phishing scrapes of fake sites. So basically, definitely do careful research in that you're looking at the HTTPS :// yeetcoin.net. That's the only one. There's no other platforms. We've tried to shut down phishing scrape sites and fake contracts. And so always definitely follow the community announcements and what the actual official contract are of any project. Most definitely. And that's been a setback because we even saw like kind of like a contract launch after that kind of really had a community sense of competition that caused their community kind of lash out and against like our platform like that. And it wound up being that the actual people who launched that project wound up stealing everyone's money and taking off out of the liquidity pool. So that was very unfortunate because it's like this copycat projects out there that try to be like every other kind of fork of these tokens. That's basically just people are, well, I'll try this one or something or that one. And it's just like the same thing where it's just, so there's been some setbacks in the sense of other abusive projects, basically. We're trying to build a good, healthy community in any network. And so we feel that with a utility and a platform, that that's the main focus on the corporate level and on my mind long term for Yeetcoin, DeFi, and social money project, that it provides a whole inclusive ecosystem and platform that's safe for people to be involved in, like even projects and make informed decisions on their own and in that regards.
All right.
But still provide like further research into what kind of projects are out there that people can participate in, that shows like a fully competent and transparent outline of its platform long term, most definitely.
So I got one last question, and the question is regards to the SEC filing. Can you elaborate more on what that all entails?
Yeah. So, the other aspect real quick is I want to basically, I guess we touched upon that for YUSD BEP20.
Yeah.
And the value and I know part of your question was like, what do I predict the price of Yeetcoin to be 1 year from now? For me, again, like the answer is definitely managed on a corporate level of par value and par value management of buybacks, and most definitely value growth through the utility of its products. And YUSD, like I was stating, is another utility expanse of Yeetcoin, but that on the safe end of why people will be involved in the valuation of Yeetcoin is to have a stable aspect that people can hold their Yeetcoin into a safe Binance multi-sig vault with multi-sig encryption for any kind of backing of the stable Yeet on that regards. I meant to close out on that last question about that for stable Yeet, that for the utility and what I feel the value of Yeetcoin. So we definitely want to manage the value that Yeetcoin can have a good running chance in valuation, management, and ability of, like I said, being able to obtain good amounts of commerce, product, and gaming, for example, and products and services. But that's all people can utilize that and have that safe holdings into a stable Yeet that's pegged at the $1 for, helping Yeetcoin have a stable and more long running stance at valuation growth long term through corporate management and buybacks and burns. In regards to the last question and that provision that connects even over to the valuation of Yeetcoin is how much is actually offered out there and how much is circulating out there and how much is amended in connectiveness with our corporate level filings with the SEC as an incorporated company, S Corp, that provides all of its offerings out through the SEC, the Security Exchange Commission, through its filings and offerings. So Yeetcoin is filed with the SEC as a Form D exemption, and in its filing of how much will be offered up and how much the LP will be maximum capacity, and as that grows and expands, it'll be amended accordingly as such. So again, like when you're saying like if there's a price prediction of whatever, obviously Yeetcoin will be long term. Well, just that management's of a amended level is just coordinating and filed accordingly through its filings with the SEC on the corporate level.
Very good. Very good stuff. So, well, that pretty much wraps it up here for the Ken